All right. Oh, boy. So we're just going ahead and doing the show because Tennessee is down by so many points that I think there's really no point in putting off until post game. Tennessee's not going to come back to win this one. Currently, it's 41-10. I assume it's probably going to get worse. A complete humiliation, a complete embarrassment. They didn't show up. They got completely outclassed in every way, shape, and form. To a team that 3 weeks ago lost to a 6-5 Michigan team. I don't know what happened. Obviously, we're going to talk about that here, but just a complete pantsing, humiliation is the right word. You got pulled out in front of the town square, and everybody just threw tomatoes at you. I mean, it was just like, this is as bad as it gets. This is as bad as it gets, frankly. Like, as far as a big game goes, you haven't lost like this to Georgia in past years, who frankly is probably a better coach team with very similar talent. I don't know what happened. I'll throw it to you, Crump. Where's your head at after watching this?
Obviously, you never go into a situation thinking it's not going to go well. I expected a lot out of tonight, but I just find it comical reading. And y'all can sit here and say, "Oh crap, you want about me?" I don't care. I'm a grown man. That bother me. But all the crap that I'm reading on the comments, and embarrassment. 10-2 in the playoffs, and y'all are sitting here crying your ass off.
Well, it's down to the single. It's just the single game, though. It's not the season.
You asked me where I'm at. I'm telling you,
it's not the season, though. We're talking about the single game.
Let me finish. Let me finish. You asked me where my head's at. 4 years ago, this program was in a dumpster fire. It was.
It was.
Right? Handing out McDonald's bags full of money or whatever was going on. And now we're in the playoffs. Yeah. Hey, this is not easy to swallow. But now, because here's the thing, it's all the grass is always greener, is what people think. Keyword think. See, and there's already the fire hypo deals on here. I mean, y'all don't want to know my opinion, in the sense of, and I'm not trying to be, I'm calling it like it is, in the sense of we didn't play tonight. I said it at halftime. We showed up like we were gonna be let's go take our shirts off and act like the cold weather doesn't bother us. Blah blah blah. It's the game of football. It's a normal game. Don't make it bigger than it needs to be, right? But at the end of the day, if we didn't make the playoff and we're in the Pop-Tart Bowl, then everybody would be like, oh my God, this is the worst season in the history of Tennessee football, blah, 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 fire hypo. Like, at a certain point, somebody's got to be a realist. Does that make sense? Tonight sucks. The game is still 10:47 or 10:48 in the game. It's not fun to watch.
Well, here's...
But we can't sit here and say this is an abomination, that it's this, that it's this, that it's this. Have you seen our O-line we're playing with tonight?
I mean,
have you seen, honestly, do you want me to rewind it and tell you the O-line we're playing with? We've got to get depth. We've said it for years. We have to get depth up front to give us a chance in big games. We have zero depth at O-line.
But here's the tough part of that. They have not recruited to that. They have not recruited to O-line yet.
And we've talked about that. We have to.
You have to face that when you have that conversation. You go, oh, well, they need O-line depth. Well, they don't have any, and none is coming in. So where does that leave us? Because yes, Heupel the turnaround has been incredible, and getting to this playoff spot is the exact position that you wanted to be in when you think about a quote unquote turnaround from where you were with the ball dummy before. And like, that's great. Genuinely, it is really great. We covered it in the last couple of weeks. The fact that you got here and you gave yourself the opportunity to go and play a great story team like Ohio State. That's awesome. But at least it has to at least be competitive for me to not have a little bit of an alarmist take here, because what I see is this, and I know you're trying to downplay everything here, but earlier in this season and at different points, you've been one to bring up, is Josh Heupel
Well,
the
no,
Mark Richt for Tennessee?
no, and
And
I'm done. No.
that's where my head goes.
That's what I've said hypothetically, because I knew you crazies would do that.
That is where my head goes here.
Because here's the thing: has he beat Florida and has he beat Alabama?
Well, of course, but that can only take you to this point, and at the end of the day,
exactly.
This is the stuff that matters. In the regular season, beating those rivals is great, but what does the beating the rivals do for you? It gets you to this spot right here.
It does.
So ultimately, this is the spot that matters. And as far as this game goes, a loss was very realistic because Ohio State is so talented and all of these things. But to go out there and be completely uncompetitive, to look pathetic. Let's call it what it was. Look pathetic, completely pathetic. It just outclassed in every single sense. There wasn't a spot on the field where Tennessee wasn't completely outclassed in this game. Period. Coaching all the way down through every position on that football field. It was pathetic. So you got to call it what it is. And so it is just one game. You did beat Alabama. You did beat Florida. I think Alabama's on a decent, and I think you probably with Heupel for right now, in my estimation, you probably plateaued. I don't think that next year's team is going to be a whole lot better than this one, but they may be right there with this one. But I'm not sure that I see anything to indicate they're going to be a lot better unless they go and just pillage the transfer portal, and they might. I don't know, but we don't know that at this moment.
We can't speculate on next year because literally the season's not over. The portal, they can't even take visits for portal kids yet.
Yeah, but unless they do that, there's really no indication that next year's team is going to be particularly just way better. Like I said, there's picking up David Sanders, awesome. Who plays behind David Sanders? Who plays beside David Sanders on this O-line? Frankly, right now, you picked up a dude from Arizona out of the transfer portal, but it's not like he's just like the biggest 5-star plus guy coming out. And I look at it and I just think for right now, until the elite recruits get in the door, this is where you're going to end up. And it might eventually, you might have a little bit more of a favorable path. This might end up being the quarterfinal of the playoff. It might end up being the semifinal in the playoff. But ultimately, you're not that team right now. And there hasn't been the recruiting there to be that team. And it got completely, fully exposed tonight. Completely exposed at every level.
Once again, I like to play devil's advocate, but I also like to be a realist. Anytime it doesn't go 100% perfect, you and half the people in these comments are the sky's falling.
I don't think the sky's falling. The sky's not falling.
No. Look, you may not say it, but that's how you come off.
It might be how I come off, and
100%
fair enough.
Is you're coming off as 100%. You literally said Josh Heupel has plateaued. That means the sky's falling.
But
that's
you
the same thing
seriously
as saying the sky's falling without saying it.
I'll ask it. I'll ask it instead of saying it. I'll ask it this way to you. When you look at what they did this season and you look at the prospects that they have for next, unless some miracle has worked in the transfer portal, can be done, but it's a long shot. Do you see next year and the year after that being markedly better than this one? Where you reach the playoff? Like I said, this game,
none of us can predict any of that. The signing class is not done. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't in the era of the portal, we can't now in January, maybe. Does that make sense?
I don't know.
We can maybe talk about it then. At this moment, we have zero to go off of.
I don't know.
The only thing that's done is early signing period. So we can't go off of that. In that sense. What I'm getting at is I've said it multiple times this year, or hell over the 4 years he's been there. I love watching Josh Heupel coach. I do, and I will defend that. But I've also been very honest. Our offense is feast or famine. It's always going to be that way. And it's not just us. Ole Miss, okay, same thing. Clemson, same thing. Not now North Carolina because of Belichick, but like old North Carolina under Matt Brown, same thing. Because we all run a very similar style offense. It is feast or famine. It's what it is. And that's when it ain't feast, it doesn't look pretty. You know what I'm saying? And we've talked about that. Tonight, it was sure as hell not feast. Let's call that like it is. Like it wasn't. Or still isn't, as it's still 8 minutes to go. That's the negative. For it to get to where it needs to be with what we run, you have to have a full two deep at every position because you got to be able to just roll them in and out. We still don't. And now, granted, not many people do anymore because of the transfer portal. You know what I'm saying? So we have to prioritize certain positions, whatever, and I'm not the coach, so whatever they deem necessary, and go after those players. But we have to be more productive on offense to not always be 16 play drive or 3 and out. You know what I'm saying? And we can sit here and argue all day on what positions does that matter, blah, 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 or what positions really affect that. That's up to the coaches. Tonight it's not good. The sky's not falling though. 10-2, going to the playoffs, going to end 10-3. But that
I don't think anybody's saying this. I don't think anybody's saying the sky is falling.
I've seen about 20 people actually say that, literally.
I think you're just it is two completely separate things in my mind. There is one that is the 10-2 season where you beat Alabama, and that was a ton of fun, and that was very cool. Genuinely, it was very cool, and I think Nico has had a nice little progression. I think tonight you saw he's a tough kid that has a lot of talent.
He's tougher than we all thought because he wasn't asked to show it.
And you know, there's that. That's one conversation. And then you have the conversation about this singular game and what it means. Because what it shows is that you are not close. Like, you are not close. When you look at this and you look at the Georgia game, Georgia, you had a 10-point lead in that Georgia game, and ultimately they ended up kicking your butt. But, like, still, at least you had, that. You showed a little more backbone, and that's cool. But in this one, I mean, you will never, this is unequivocally true, I think. You will never have the kind of fan enthusiasm going in, even if you make the playoff again. And Heupel probably will. Heupel will probably make the playoff again as Tennessee's football coach. I don't think it'll be next year because you have a tougher schedule, but he probably will again. And like I said, this game might happen. You might have a more favorable draw in the future. You might get SMU like Penn State did, and Tennessee would beat the brakes off SMU. Yeah, great. That would be great. And if you played them in Neyland, fine. That would be a lot of fun. And then you made it to the quarterfinal. Cool. But the second that you run into your Ohio State, the second that you run into your Georgia, this year, maybe Oregon. I'm not sure that it's completely been shown with Oregon yet. I mean, they beat Ohio State at home. That's like the one thing that they've done. But I look across the field at what you face tonight, and you're not living in the same stratosphere as these boys. And that got completely exposed. And that's a tough pill to swallow. And what does that mean going forward? Genuinely. I mean that seriously. Because what it means, is that what it means is you're not going to win a national championship. That's what it means. You're not going to win a national championship.
We're not winning the games. We can't make it to the Natty. But my question is, so Ben Hall said this, and I'm going to read this comment, and then it kind of leads into that. It says, Charlie, you do realize it's the same team to beat Alabama, right? There's still levels to it, and that's what I want to talk about, the levels to it. Yeah. Right now we haven't reached, and I'm not going to say the word he said, blank Ohio State status, a team that lives in the playoffs. There's a tiered, essentially, way to get there. We're on our way up there. We've been down for a long time. Miami's the same way. Florida State the same way. Southern Cal the same way. In the early 2000s, all of these teams, including us, were top dogs. Now you see what I'm getting at? And the Georgias and the Ohio States and the Michigans. We're not. It's the ebbs and flows of college football. We have to learn to get our way back. A 10-3 season, if you're going to complain about it, just go home. If you're going to complain about a double-digit win season, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk to you about it because that's complete and utter BS. And I'm just saying that in general. If you're going to complain about that, tonight sucks. Bottom line is, here's another one. Where'd it go? This is not a good way to end a 10-3 season. Talking to me. I agree. I totally agree it's not a good way to end the season. But I'm not going to sit here and listen and partake in the it's abysmal, it's this, it's that. You know what? Sometimes it ain't your night. Tonight, it wasn't even freaking close. We talked about it at halftime. You can't start down 21-0 and expect to win a ball game. You can't. The largest comeback was 17 points. We were down 21 after 3 drives. We know it wasn't good. Hell, it's, once again, 6:20 to go. It's still not good. But don't sit here and act like we will ever complain about 10-3.
But to me, you're framing it unfairly because it's strictly 2 fully different conversations.
But it's not. That would be like somebody saying, ready? That's like somebody saying South Carolina is the best team in college football right now because of how they played the second half. We know the first 6 games count too, bud. You can't say the first 6 games we don't count, and then we'll count the last 6. It's the same framing. It's the exact same thing.
I'm not saying the other 12 games didn't happen this year. They just mean something fully different because what this means is that you cannot win a championship. It means that the teams that can win a championship are 10 miles ahead of you. And they're also 10 miles ahead of apparently Alabama and Ole Miss and, some of these other definitely South Carolina. And that's just true. Like, talent-wise, that is the fact that we all have a ton of catching up to do. And then when you narrow that down to just Tennessee in this conversation, what does that mean? And I'll say all of that, and also go, what Heupel has done is still a borderline miracle. And I'm not getting up here saying you need to fire the guy. Certainly not. I think you just have to look at the situation realistically and go, what he's done is incredible. Also, his team's not winning a national championship as it's currently built. It's not good enough. It's simply
anybody that wins in the playoffs is not going to win. Listen, man. Once you get in the playoff, it's all about draw. It is what it is. It is.
It's a big factor.
It really is, because think about it. Is Arizona State a team that should get a bye? No. Is Boise State? No. But they do. It's all about draw. Okay, so I'm with you on that. It takes a lot more. Once you get in the playoff, it takes a lot of where you're placed to get there, because you need upsets. You need things to fall your way. Blah blah blah. All right. Obviously, we got this draw, whatever. But the thing is, I love this comment. I got to find it, and it's very short, sweet, to the point. I don't know where it's exactly at, but it said at a certain point, 10-3 won't be good enough, and that I agree with that.
Yeah,
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Close. You're getting close.
But at this moment, that's what I'm getting at. Is we've got to stop sitting here acting like I'm always going to be a Tennessee homer. Hell, it's my alma mater. I'm going to be. But I am going to be a realist about our offense too, and about our defense. And I will. But I won't sit here and act like we're the worst thing. It's this, and this, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I've said it. We do need to hit the portal better. We need to recruit that area better. But 10-3 after being less than one full signing class through, like in the past, of being absolute dumpster fire, and 7 years removed from a petition to not hire a coach. Do you see where I'm at? We have to also put this into perspective of where we are at, and going, holy bleep, us making it to the playoff at this point is tremendous because of where we have been, and our fans buying back into our program. our
Well,
community buying back our program, the players wanting to come play for a program that was in such disarray. Now, yes, we need more. We do need more of them, and we know that.
I think this is an interesting thought exercise. I still, the way the season exactly went, I think Tennessee should have been playing this game at home. That said, the way
I agree with that. I do.
But the way that this game went, I think Tennessee still probably to some extent gets its butt kicked, even at home. Because
Ohio State is seasoned in this area, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean Tennessee under Heupel has been nearly unbeatable at home. Again, in the last 2 years, they have lost one time, and it was to Georgia. But this Ohio State team, talent-wise, is right there with Georgia. I don't think they're there coaching-wise, but talent-wise, they're right there. Frankly, the fact that they're not there coaching-wise makes this all that much worse. But if that had happened and you get outclassed, but it's closer at home, I kind of wonder exactly where the conversation is, because what this game tonight also adds to that we really haven't even mentioned yet is just the entire aura, if that's the right word, the aura of Heupel of this man can't win a road football game to save his life. Like, and it's not, again, tonight was going to be an uphill battle because you saw right here laid bare how truly talented this team is and how much of an absolute embarrassing screw up that Michigan game was. I mean, what were they doing? Look how good this team is. How do you lose that game? Truly. Yeah. How do you lose that game? What were you doing that week? Look at this team and look in the mirror.
Like, rivalry games are different. We all know that.
Holy cow.
Rivalry games are different. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's my only answer I can say to that one. Because I don't have an answer to that, because they should not have lost to Michigan.
But I tweeted this near the end of the game. I mean, this all but solidifies. I already felt this way, and I kind of been holding on to hope. But frankly, obviously, we do these game predictions every week with me and Zach Reagan on the old Big Orange podcast. I don't think I'm going to pick Josh Heupel to win a football game against anybody that's not Vandy or Kentucky until he does it, frankly. You had the Oklahoma game this year, and that's very, very cool that game happened. It was a bit of a slog, but a big time moment in Heupel's tenure at Tennessee. But ultimately, like that Oklahoma team's not good.
You know what that reminds me of? What you just said. So one of my coaches is a huge Penn State guy. So I've said this multiple times, or asked this, is Heupel our Mark Richt? Well, Mark Richt is retired. So I'll take it a different way. Is Heupel Tennessee's James Franklin? Where
that's a better comparison.
And I think the more that, because when you said that, it kind of clicked in my head by going, I had this conversation today about Penn State by going, we know they're going to beat SMU. I mean, hell, it was SMU. But until he beats Ohio State or Michigan, it's Penn State. It's James Franklin. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that now you got to add Oregon into that because of the Big Ten. Is that where we're at of going, yeah, we beat the Alabama, we beat the Florida, but now we can't beat Georgia, and we got to get over that hump. And
can't beat Florida on the road. Can't be Florida on the road.
Yes, true.
That's my biggest one, probably.
I think that might be a better comparison. Is like for us, Heupel is a lot like James Franklin in the sense of, until we do it, it's going to be hard to believe it. And I want to believe it, and I'm always going to be that homer. But I do agree with you in that sense. Like, it's going to be hard to sit here and go, in a realistic way, we're going to do X, Y, Z until we just go do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's interesting to look after the year that Tennessee has had. You saw with the baseball team, like the way that team was constructed, they were the best team in that thing. They played like it. They showed up in every game. And you saw the team with the most talent and the best coach do exactly all of that. And what that looks like in the context of college sports. And here, Ohio State probably has the best roster in college football. They have a coach that should be at freaking Toledo, but still they have an incredible roster, and so it's just tough to see because
we have holes we need to fill.
You do, and it's just almost. I don't want to say it feels hopeless. It's not hopeless because a 10-2 season is awesome and it was a ton of fun. Hopeless is not the right word, but I don't know the exact word I'm searching for here. But it feels really, really tough because you want so badly to be at this level, but you're just not. And
we're on the cusp of it.
You are, but you're still just outside looking in, and it's such a sweet feeling when you're like with that baseball team. It's such a sweet feeling walking in and being like, we're the best, we're the baddest dudes entering this thing, and you want to feel like you are right there. And now, in a game against Alabama, now you do walk in feeling that way, and that's amazing. Heupel accomplished that much, but you still are a full step behind when it comes to national championship competition.
And the main reason why, in my opinion, is depth.
I think that is it. That is it.
We do lack depth at DB. We have really good DBs, but we don't have 4 or 5, if not a 6th DB. You know what I'm saying? Because you play 4 DBs, right? Minimum. You go to nickel personnel where there's your 5th, so you got to have 5 quote unquote starters. Well, so you really need a 6th in case one goes down. You see what I'm getting at? Like, that's what we don't have. That we need depth at O-line. We did have depth at D-line, and our front 7 was really good this year. That stuff.
But even still, it struggled in really big spots. Defensive line didn't show up at Georgia, didn't show up in this game. Like, I don't exactly know how to reconcile that. That is tough because, I mean, you literally had, like, they came and dominated in 11 games. Dominated to the point where, like, you were constantly injuring opposing quarterbacks. I mean, it was crazy, some of the games they had. And then in the big moments, they do nothing.
But once again, it's not that those are the comments that I just can't swallow. It's like, oh, they did nothing. You can't help a BS holding call or a roughing the passer call or an underthrown go ball, or you can go holding on an O-lineman literally every play, like literally every play. O-linemen are actually taught to grab pads. You see what I'm getting at? Like, that's the stuff I can't swallow that one. I can't.
The situation's just I do, and I don't know, the situation's just weird because if you weird is the right word. That is the right word. And maybe this is a kind of way for me to say this. Because if you think this all the way out, let's say Tennessee beats Arkansas. And obviously, I mean, they were one defensive stop away from doing that. They would have won 14-13. It would have been ugly, but it would have been a win. And you would have essentially been Texas, where it wasn't the most beautiful season of all time, but you win 11-1. You play for the SEC championship game. You get beat, and then you end up there. Tennessee would beat Clemson. Tennessee would beat Arizona State. Then you would have made it to the final. And, that would have been a ton of fun, but neither of those are just like, oh, my gosh, you beat like a team that's completely on the decline with a coach that refuses to go to the transfer portal. And then you beat Arizona State.
But that's a shoulda, coulda, woulda situation.
Well, but no, but this is what I'm saying. And I don't think Ohio State fans would disagree with that when you look at it. Like, I think it's a very fair thing to say that Tennessee, in it, like you said, very draw-based, Tennessee could have easily made it to the semifinal, but eventually you're going to play Ohio State or Oregon. And again, it just breaks down into two conversations of saying, whoa, with a different draw, we make it to the semifinal of the playoff. That's incredible. Also, you probably show up at the semifinal and get your butt kicked like you did tonight. So where does that leave us? I don't know. Like I said, it's a weird situation. There's no just straight up there's no way to feel good about this. You got your butt absolutely handed to you by a team that's way better than you, at least talent wise. So there's that. We do have.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say we got to do the paid segment, and this one ought to be interesting. So there's still a minute left in the game. Sure, it's 42-17. We got a ton of people watching, and we really, really appreciate it. And I know we've split opinions in the comments. There's Ohio State fans in the comments trying to dunk on us. It is what it is. But 42-17. Let's say that ends up being the final score for this one. Give us one word for how you're feeling. Drop into the comments. One word. Yeah, this is going to be good.
This will be a fun segment.
One word for how you are currently feeling after a 42-17, if that ends up being the final score, beat down Ohio State against Tennessee. Let us know that one word, and we will talk about it right after. Tell you about the good folks at Farm Bureau Health Plans. Farm Bureau Health Plans been serving Tennesseans for over 75 years. Much has changed in Tennessee over the years, but some has stayed the same. Farm Bureau has always valued personal relationships, especially when it comes to good health and good service. Plan on Farm Bureau Health Plans for health, dental, and vision. For better coverage, better rates, and better service, go to fbhp.com/ATOZ or walk into one of their 200-plus locations across the state. That is fbhp.com/ATOZ. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Again, one word for how you are feeling after the complete beatdown that Tennessee took at the hands of Ohio State tonight. And this is my number one right here. This might have been mine, but Sunken Grave already took it. Basketball. Basketball's right there, baby. they play on Monday night, I think. It's Landon says hopeful. This is 2 words, but John says not surprised. Old Big Ten Jeff, he says Big Ten, but with a dash, so it actually counts. And he wanted me to read his super chat that said Tennessee needs to hold this L. Jeff, I run the show. I don't care what you have to say. Shrike says numb. Jeremy says disgusted. Jason says hopeless. Will expected, embarrassed from B. More. Crump, I'll throw it to you.
I could go obviously one of 100 ways. I was going to use one, but somebody used. I was going to go with hopeful. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna say loss for like loss of words, meaning like I don't know how to feel because you never like to get your ass kicked like that.
Yeah.
But it's also the fact of putting it in comparison and perspective to the whole season and going and seeing how far we've come from as a program. From my standpoint, I'm elated to see how far we've come. We've got a long way to go. Honestly, we do. We know we do. To get to where we want to get to the top of the mountaintop, if you want to say it. But I am encouraged to see where we are going to go. Now, granted, there may be changes to the coaching staff next year. Tim Bakes may be getting a head job. Who knows? So that's where it's hard for me to speak on anything going in the future because you just don't know. Actual national signing day has not actually happened. Portal has not finished up. Coaching changes have not finished. So I don't know, but I'm excited to see where we're going because we have came a long way as a program.
We definitely have, and it's a great way to look at it. You definitely have to acknowledge that. T says elated. There might be a Ohio State fan. Server says disappointed. Ashton embarrassed. A lot of embarrassed. Chris says roster. That's a good one. That's a word that we can't say, but I'll show it on the screen. D says battered. Mario disappointed. Where else? Foxtown overrated. Yeah, that is. Yeah. Jeff says annoyed, bamboozled from Chance. I'll go conflicted. I think that is the correct word for me at the moment because of it exactly what I've been saying here. You and what you've mentioned, Heupel has taken you to heights that I think at some of the depths of the terrible years, you almost thought you were never going to see again. We would have fallen on our knees and begged for a 10-2 season in 2019 when you were having to come back from 14 down against stinking Indiana in the whatever bowl, in the toilet bowl. Like we would have killed to be in this position. And that is one thing. What he has done, again, borderline miracle, and that's awesome. Also, you got outclassed in a way that has to be grappled with. And I don't want to say there has to be coaching changes, and not coaching changes of Heupel, but like fire of a position coach, get that. I mean, call for whoever you want. I don't think that there's one thing. I think people are going to bring up Willie Martinez in this one because the DB's got, burned up, or whoever you want to blame. Go ahead and do that. There's no silver bullet that's going to fix everything. The silver bullet is that you got to recruit elite dudes to be on this football team, and you don't have them, and it's not easy to get them, and it's not going to come overnight. And so it's either get a miracle draw in the playoff where somebody pulls a miracle upset and you're playing freaking, TCU in the national championship game, or you have to go get elite dudes, because Heupel will probably be back in the playoff. I don't know. I don't want to take it for granted. He might not, but I think there's a decent chance he'll be back in the playoff at some point in the future. And again, might make it to a semifinal, quarterfinal.
So
but at the end of the day, you have to get these dudes that can do what Ohio State just did to you.
Yeah,
that's what you have to do.
I get it, but here's one. Do you know how big of a recruiting tool it is to go into sitting, whether portal or high school kids' house, and recruit them and say, yeah, by the way, we're one of the 12 that were in the playoff last year. That's a recruiting tool.
Yeah.
It is. They don't give a shit about the score. You were in the playoffs. You can't win it if you ain't in it. All right. So here's a comment that I think hits home for right now. Justin Britt. Obviously, most of y'all don't remember Dooley, Butch Jones, Jeremy Pruitt. In 4 years, we're competing in the college football championship, the playoffs. Can't be upset. I have to agree, because it's
a crazy feat. Yeah,
it's a great thing to sit here and say, oh yes, we're complaining about losing in the playoffs. Put it in perspective. We're in the playoffs 4 years after a dumpster fire and having to fire a coach with cause to not pay a buyout for breaking NCAA rules. 4 years later, we're in the playoffs. 2 years in, quarterback doesn't tear his ACL, we're in the 14 playoff. Do you see it? Like that's what I'm trying to say is it's a recruiting tool. It is. And
you have to address both things.
This person tell me, oh, he can't be upset. Cool, go be upset. Cry on your couch. It ain't gonna make me sleep any worse at night. I don't give a damn what you do. But here's the thing. The bottom line is when you're going to recruiting somebody, from a coaching perspective, you tell them, hey, we're in the playoffs last year. It didn't go the way we wanted to go. Why don't you come help us change that? But we were one of the 12 in. It is a recruiting tool. Now we have to go do it. We have to go recruit them, obviously, and we have to get them to actually come to Knoxville. But that is such an advantage to be one of the 12 in. It's better to be one of the 12 in than be number 13 and not get in.
Well, and go take advantage. Stop getting out recruited by Georgia. Stop getting out recruited by Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State has a wide receiver in Carnell Tate that I think his final two were Ohio State and Tennessee. Win that recruiting battle. Whatever you have to do, if it's a massive NIL check, if it's whatever it is.
And I've said this for a while. Ohio State has the best recruiter in the country on their staff and their wide receiver coach.
Fair enough, but
I mean they do. I mean they do.
But think about this factor. And we brought this up all year long. The wide receiver room just kind of kept coming up short, and it happened in this game where you didn't have a game breaker. What they were missing was the Jalen Hyatt. If you had this exact room and added a Jalen Hyatt level player, it's one of the best wide receiver rooms in America. Period. 100%. But you never had that guy who could break a play himself and himself alone. And so they were all bogged down by that. Well, yeah. I mean, Dylan Simpson at running back.
He's the only one that can do it for us this year. And
Yep.
we've talked about that all year, that in this offense, this is not a Texas-style offense or I mean, there's a couple, but not many. Michigan, or for a little bit, Alabama kind of offense, where it is a progression style offense with your reads. Our offense is feast or famine. We need a 4-3-40 receiver. We do. We have to, and that we get that. We're a lot more explosive than everybody else can be, intermediate, 15 and under. But when we have receivers that are all really good at 15 and under, look what Ohio State did tonight. They played 3 safeties. They played 4 down linemen. They're 7 out of 11. And they played 0 linebackers in the box when they dared us to run the football. When Sampson gets hurt, you can do that.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. And don't get me wrong, I love our running back room. But we were also down, so they knew we had to throw the ball. If we're not down by 21, they're not running that. They've got linebackers in the box. But yeah, you play if you can get pressure with 4 down linemen and play 3 safeties, that's hard. That goes back to we need depth at O-line. We do. Texas, big number 74. I don't know the kid's name. He's a redshirt freshman. Having to step in 2 weeks ago or whatever the SEC championship game was at left tackle. Dude gets hurt. And he got hurt against an A&M game. So he played A&M and Georgia at left tackle. Left tackle, who won the best alignment award, comes back this week. He's back on the bench. Center goes down. Right tackle goes to center. He goes to right tackle, and they didn't miss a beat. We need that depth is what I'm getting at.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not a slight on anything other than we just need depth.
It can only, to me, the solution for what you saw tonight is just getting dudes on your football
team, get better.
Elite guys. And that's that's where we're at. I'll be honest, Crump, it is midnight. As much as I love talking about Tennessee getting their butt kicked up and down the field continuously for 4 hours this evening. Anything else for the folks at home before we are out of here? We check out for the season. Actually,
it was weird.
It's having this where you've played this earlier than most bowl games, but it's bigger than any bowl game. But it is odd, and you had to play a way bigger game and team than any bowl game Tennessee would have played in recent years. The whole thing is strange. But anything for the folks at home as we check out on the 2024 football season?
No, I mean, just like every year, thanks to everybody. I mean, I know we love interacting with you guys and, going back and forth and bickering and arguing. But it's just, we have fun with it. You know what I mean? Like there's never going to be hard feelings. We couldn't do this without you guys. Sincerely enjoy it in all the comments. And I know we don't get to everybody's comments, but trust me, when Charlie's talking, I'm sitting here reading. If I'm not looking at the camera, I'm reading all your comments because there's so many good ones. And I love to see y'all's interaction with each other. That's probably the most fun I get to have, is watching you guys go back and forth. So it's, thank you. I love your enthusiasm. I try to help it, maybe make it worse. I don't know, but sometimes I try to talk everybody off the ledge when I can. Maybe I make it worse and we go, a foot closer. Who knows? But for honestly, thank you. We couldn't do this without you guys. Look forward to next year. This offseason I think will be fun. Hope so. The recruiting aspect, I think we will all be intently watching.
I did say this to you before we got on here tonight. As far as offseason goes, this outcome is probably the most compelling way that this game could have gone.
Yeah.
Winning is sweet for sure, and would have been great in its own way, but honestly, for content's sake and what we do here, this definitely leaves us with more to talk about, even if that's not a great thing for Tennessee.
Well, but think about that. Everybody's going to be looking forward to next year tomorrow. I mean, you know what I mean? That's that's how we do it. So the recruiting trail, everybody they'll dissect this game all, tomorrow starting in 9 minutes. And on Monday, they'll start talking about recruiting, about who can we get, the portal, who can we bring in on visits from wherever school, whatever it is, blah, 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 get these guys signed so they can get on campus like that. That's where it's going to be fun, because there's a lot of really good conversation, a lot of really good interest. And we've always had high interest at the University of Tennessee, but we've not always had this high of interest from the public, because everybody, including myself, sees we are on that verge. We just got to get over that hump. Whatever the hump may be, we got to get over it. And there's only in college football, there's 2 ways to do it: recruit and go to work.
Yep. And you can't rely on just playing in Neyland, because you might end up in a situation like this one.
Yep.
There's plenty to talk about, and we're going to do it.
And that's where the portal comes into play in today's world of getting players that have played other places that can come in and be instant help, whether they're starter or backup, but instant help, that have experience playing other places, because that's when you go on the road, it's not as bothersome. So there are some advantages of getting portal kids. So that, we'll see, but
we'll see what happens. Yeah,
I'm intrigued. The last comment I wanted to say something to was somebody said, it's not depth, it's the starters. I'm not going to solely disagree with that, but that's where depth comes into play, because that's where the competition happens. That maybe the starters turn into backups. You know what I'm saying? And that's so I thought that was a really good comment to kind of end the season, in that sense of let's go recruit, let's go back to work and support the piss out of them next year, just like we did this year.
Yeah, we'll be watching it all closely. Of course, I got to say, myself, Zach Reagan of A to Z Sports, we do our weekly Big Orange podcast, right where you're watching this, the A to Z Sports Tennessee Vols channel. For the Tennessee fans that are left, there's a lot of Ohio State fans in the comments, which is expected. If we had beaten Ohio State, I would be doing the same exact thing to you. So you got to do what you got to do. It's
all fair.
I'm not above booting some of them off of here. Some of them get a little too aggressive, but
exactly.
It was still a ton of fun, despite the way that this ended for us. We could not do this without everybody that watches the show, even the opposing fans. You might be having a lot of fun, but genuinely, it helps us. So we appreciate you tuning in, even if you are an annoying Ohio State fan. Even then, but truly, the Tennessee fans that always tune in, it means world. We cannot, so genuinely, we cannot do this without you and the great sponsors that your viewership affords us. So I think that's it, man. That's the 2024 season, Crump. We will reconvene at a later date. I think that's it. How do you even end this? There's that.
Have a Merry Christmas to everybody, because normally we're doing this after Christmas. So I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. Be safe. Yes. Enjoy time with family and friends, and see you guys next year.
Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope everybody gets some Christmas gifts to take a little bit of the sting out of this one. That's it. Charlie Burst, former Vols quarterback Jonathan Crompton. Thank you all again for tuning in, and we will talk to y'all next year.